Hello and welcome to Backyard Catch. This is Nick Roby once again. I'm joined by Mr. Will Harper. Will, how's it going?
Nick. Going well. How about yourself?
It's good. It's Super Bowl weekend. It's starting to get a little warmer. I'm feeling good. It's February. It's coming.
It's getting
coming
warmer where you're at?
It did today. At least I was feeling encouraged by today. It was freezing, and then it's actually warmer today. So maybe just today.
Yeah, I think we're supposed to have like a polar thing come through next week. So we might get like 5 minutes of snow. So we'll see. Life in the South is weird, especially in the wintertime with snow and ice.
Yeah, if there's even word of it, stuff gets shut down over here. So if you're where you're at, it sounds pretty funny. But here, if you even like sniff of snow, sometimes stuff gets shut down. So it gets pretty exciting for us. It gets pretty exciting for us.
Especially at Publix, sell out of water and sell out of milk and bread in 5 minutes.
Yeah,
make some French toast. That's about all you can do with that.
Pretty much, and all the toilet paper too. It's pretty crazy. We're almost at a year of the COVID life. When you think about it, you're like, we're almost at a year of this.
Oh yeah,
this is pretty crazy. But Will and I wanted to come on because we heard that there's a game this weekend that's kind of big. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's a big bowl. Some would call it a super of the bowls.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. I try. No, so we're excited. Obviously it's a big game this weekend. This year's looked kind of different, obviously, but the fact that we've played a whole NFL season, no games were canceled, a few were pushed back and postponed, and now we're about to play the championship game, Super Bowl. It's pretty remarkable when you think about it. Just that we're at this point, last March and April, we weren't even sure if we were going to have any sports. So, and just thinking about it, that's just pretty cool. So Will and I just wanted to come on and talk a little bit about the game, get a little snapshot before the big Sunday night. So Will, what are you like really looking forward to in this game?
Not to sound too cliche and say the same thing you hear everywhere else, but the fact that we have the Billy Goat, Tom Brady, versus the baby goat, Patrick Mahomes, like that is the storyline. Mm-hmm. In a year where like you said, we didn't know if football was even going to be played or not. The championship ends up being the greatest player of the past generation versus what will probably be the greatest player of this current and future generation. And they get to meet for at least the third year in a row. I think Brady won with the Patriots 2 years ago. Mahomes won last year. So now we get another battle, but this time it's in the Super Bowl since Brady's now in Tampa instead of New England. So the fact that we get to see the two best quarterbacks of the past 20 years, well, I'm not going to call Patrick Mahomes one of the two best, like right now. Potentially the best quarterback of the next 10 years versus the best quarterback of the last 20 years, going head to head in a year where we didn't know if we were going to have football. We didn't know if we were even going to have football or not. I think it's a perfect storyline. The NFL couldn't have written any better. And the fact that it's in Tampa and the Bucs are the first team to ever play at home in a Super Bowl, like it's perfect. They couldn't have written it better.
Yeah, especially because it's Tom Brady too. That's like such a Tom Brady move. Of course, the first year after he leaves the Patriots don't make the playoffs. And not only do the Bucs make the playoffs, they're playing the Super Bowl in their home stadium, which is pretty remarkable. You want to hear a crazy stat that you might have heard, but for those who haven't listened, it's pretty funny when you think of Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. The last team to beat quarterback to beat Tom Brady. Who was it?
I'm going to guess it was Patrick Mahomes.
It was Pat Mahomes. I think that's the last time. I forget this crazy stat. It was like the last time I know they've lost since then, but some kind of crazy stat of like the last time was Pat Mahomes. And the last time Pat Mahomes lost in the playoffs was to Tom Brady. It was some kind of crazy. It was some kind of crazy stat where it was
ago.
like the last time for each of them was based on the other quarterback. So and all I have to say, I think I butchered the first one, but all I have to say is just that it's a pretty they're pretty elite players right now, and it's a pretty fun matchup, and it feels very like big narrative for both of them. That if you think about if Brady's able to win, obviously he wins his 7th ring, but he also importantly wins a ring without Belichick, which I think is really big for his legacy. And he's like 43, which is ridiculous. And then if Pat Mahomes wins, he's won 2 in a row and then was the MVP in his first year. Like, it's just pretty crazy. And then obviously it's bigger than just the quarterbacks, but just that it just feels like it has like a legendary status attached to both of them, which is a pretty fun storyline.
I will argue with you, though, that he did not deserve the MVP last year. That should have been Damian Williams. He carried the team on his back last year. But the fact that it was Mahomes, is pretty much the MVP is going to be a quarterback. So if you can get an odd just if you want to bet one, either Mahomes or Brady, just pick who you think is going to win. Mm-hmm. Bet on them as the MVP, and that's easy money for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this game. They played in week 12. It was actually in Tampa, just like the Super Bowl is. The Chiefs won 27-24. Pat Mahomes was 37 of 49 for a cool 462 yards with 3 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. You may remember that was the game where Tyreek Hill at one point was on pace for like 1,000 yards. He ended up with 269 and 3 touchdowns. I actually played against him in fantasy that week, and I felt all of that to my core. Painful memories.
Yeah, wasn't it like, how many points was that for him? It was high 40s at least, or
no, it was 50s? Like 60. It was like 61, I think. Yes,
and because it's
the week.
It's a PPR league too, so he's getting half a point for receptions too.
That was the week where I was the second highest scorer in the league and took an L because my opponent was the highest scorer in the league. Shout out to you, Matt. But yeah, so that was my home stats. Brady in the game, he put up stats too. He was 27 for 41 for 345 with 3 touchdowns as well. But Brady had 2 picks. And the interceptions are something that's kind of been tailing Brady a little bit, especially here recently. And that kind of leads to where I want to go next and talk about when the Bucs have the ball versus the defense of the Chiefs, and then when the Chiefs have the ball versus the defense of the Bucs. So we'll start with Brady and his interceptions. In a game of this magnitude, when you're playing a quarterback gunslinger like Mahomes is, you have to avoid all mistakes. Something Brady is historically known for. Like when you think about the peak Patriots, back when they had Moss, and then they had an underneath guy like a Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, that type of player, and then a receiving running back. And Brady would just dump off, and then go over the top whenever you didn't expect it. And he kind of played mistake-free football for the most part. Of course, everyone messes up here and there. But in this game, especially with the defense that the Chiefs are going to bring, I think they're going to blitz him a lot. Maybe even like around 40-50% of the plays. I think they're going to try to put pressure on him and make him get the ball out and be risky with it. I think the corners are going to play up, which is dangerous because the Bucs have probably one of the top 3 or 4 receiving cores in football. And it looks like Antonio Brown is going to play. So that makes it even more dangerous. So to see Brady, how he protects the ball, and then establishing the run, I think the Chiefs defense, while they're opportunistic, they're also pretty susceptible to the run. So they're going to need to establish either Jones or Fournette or both to try to control the clock and keep Mahomes off the field.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. I think those are the couple interesting points. I was going to bring up the run game too, just because I feel like the Brady offense, like the offense with Brady, I think for them to be really successful is they're obviously very potent, but because the Chiefs are so explosive too, I also feel like you need to like counteract. And I feel like Brady already plays this way. But if they're going to succeed well, I feel like they need to possess on offense and basically like just march down the field consistently and like chunk out points. Because Mahomes and the Chiefs, they're big play oriented, I feel like, or they're very like chunk play. Because when you look at some of these stats in the rushing game, Ronald Jones it was only 9 carries, but 66 yards against the Chiefs. So it's like not very many touches. And obviously, like in a Bruce Arians offense, they don't run the ball as much. But that's 7.3 yards per clip, those are just chunk plays. And obviously, they're expecting some other ones. So I just think like they just need to just control the ball, and you do that through that, or like Gronkowski had a big game of over 100 yards. So it's not going to be the same as it was last time. They're obviously going to throw some wrinkles, but that's something I'm looking for with them. And then what's interesting is I feel like in the NFC Championship game, when the Bucs are playing Green Bay, the first half, he played super well and like felt really confident. But in the second half, he started just throwing up these like jump balls. And that's when he got picked off like 3 times. It just felt like a little bit more risky. Like he's trusting his receivers, but I just wonder if he like was getting a little bit too confident. So I'm interested to see like what that kind of looks like, because he already had thrown 2 picks against the Chiefs, and the Chiefs have players like Tyrann Mathieu who they're very aggressive. So they're going to be looking for those types of plays. And what you don't want to happen if you're Brady and the Bucs is to be down 7 or down 10, throw an interception, and then all of a sudden you're down like 17. And I know the Patriots came back against Atlanta, but I just don't think this, like, they're very strong offensively, but I wouldn't want them to be having to come down from like 14 or 17 in the same way that I think the Chiefs could come back.
Yeah, having to come back against Mahomes, that offense, is a lot different than coming back against Matt Ryan.
Yes.
I don't think that Mahomes and Andy Reid are going to take their foot off the gas, if that's the case. So on the other side of the ball, when the Chiefs are on offense and the Bucs are on defense, do you have a couple things that you're looking at there?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting for me. Obviously, I'm interested just as a Clemson fan if Sammy Watkins can play. And it looks like he will. I mean, the big question for me is it might not seem as obvious, but it's interesting to me that they had a Fisher, the left tackle, tore his Achilles in the game against Green Bay, which, for those who don't know, he blocks Pat Mahomes' blind side. And he's been starting like pretty much all these games. And I just know how aggressive the Bucs defense are, and they like to blitz, and they're very dominant up front, or they're very strong, and then with the linebackers. So when you think about, as I've been listening to people talk about it this week, and as you think about it, like they're going to need help on that side. So you take somebody like Kelsey, you might have to, or the running backs have to like chip more, or have to take more focus on that. Whereas the Chiefs, I feel like to play more out wide, which is not detrimental to them at all. I don't foresee it being like this crazy big thing, but I think it's like in this type of a game, it's little things like that will change even how the Chiefs operate, or even what they feel comfortable in. So I'll be curious to see like how they use Kelsey. And obviously I feel like the Bucs are going to super focus on Tyreek because he went off on them. So I think somebody like Travis Kelsey is like a huge factor in this game. If he plays well, I think the Chiefs win. But if they can bottle him down, I think it's a closer game.
I think the crazy thing about the Chiefs offense is that you talked about Sammy, but essentially it's 3 guys. It's Mahomes, it's Kelsey, it's Hill. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of all they need. If they have all 3 of those guys going, you can't beat them. Like if Pat's delivering everything on time where he needs to, Tyreek is unguardable one-on-one. It doesn't matter who's trying to guard him. No one can keep up with him. And then Kelsey just finds ways to be open. Like, how can you leave this man open on 20 plays a game? And somehow it happens. I don't know how he do it, how he does it. He's some kind of wizard on the football field. That's what it comes down to. If they can get all three of those guys going, they're going to win. If the Bucks can take away the deep ball, like you mentioned, I think that's going to be their main priority. In that Week 12 matchup, Tyreek Hill had a 75-yard touchdown catch, a 41-yard touchdown catch, and a 20-something yard touchdown catch too. So all three of Pat Mahomes' touchdown passes, none of them came in the red zone. So I think they're going to try to make them earn it, because the Bucks defense, they are a really good defense, especially against the run. The Chiefs may run 5 times all game. It's not going to be in the game plan. At least I think so. Now, what's probably going to happen is Andy Reid's going to come out and run the ball 25 times because no one's expecting it. That's very Andy mood. But really, Pat Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, stop them if you can, or hope that Billy Goat is better than Baby Goat when it comes to leading his team down big points.
Yeah. And I guess we can kind of get towards. Is there any other factor before we give picks or anything that you're looking at or interested in that we haven't talked about?
Yeah, there's one player we haven't mentioned yet, and it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So he was the first round draft pick for the Chiefs at running back. He's the guy that Patrick Mahomes wanted to be the running back. Prior to the season, Damian Williams, who I said earlier was the MVP, at least I thought so, of last year's Super Bowl, opted out for the season. So they spent their first round pick, number 32 overall, on the running back from LSU. And I don't want to say he's been super disappointing, but he's been disappointing this year. He hasn't been everything that they had hoped he'd be. I know from a fantasy football perspective, he definitely wasn't what people hoped he would be. And he's not even their main back right now. Right now, Darrell Williams is getting most of the important snaps. So it'll be interesting to see how he's deployed. And then on the other side of the ball, Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell is on the Chiefs. Sorry, that's what I'm going to say. Yes, Fournette. Sorry. So Fournette, of course, let go by the Jaguars. Finds a home in Tampa, and then he and Ronald Jones have been seesawing all year. So Ronald Jones looked like he was going to be the lead back, take it over, and then Fournette would come out, and then Fournette have a 3-game stretch, and then Jones would come back out. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how they're deployed for this game, a game that I'm expecting the Chiefs to be in the lead. Fournette's more of the passing down back, both for protection purposes for Brady and for receiving purposes. So I think Fournette's going to get the bulk of the snaps. So to see how he plays, I think it's also going to be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it makes some interesting storylines. I think the running back conversation makes it very interesting. I mean, it clearly the quarterback play and even the receiver play is what highlights first. But if you can control the line of scrimmage where you're already trying to, I think that's the focus for both teams is locking down the receivers and then the tight end. So if either of these teams gets a strong game from even one of these running backs, or you can keep moving them in and out, which some more teams are starting to move that way of having multiple guys that they can rely on. I think you're right. I think it's very interesting. And if the Bucs are having to come back, that does change their personnel. Because I feel like they use Jones a lot in the NFC title game, or they've been leaning on him a little bit more, at least from what I remember. And so it just makes it interesting. And I think Sunday night's going to be I think it's going to be a good game. I think it leads up to these teams are pretty kind comparable when it comes to the game. And the Chiefs are the favorite, a 3-point favorite, but that's not like a crazy favorite when usually the home team gets 3 points. So,
right.
And this is considered, even though it's Tampa's place, it's a neutral field. So that being said, we're already at probably about the 19, 20 minute mark. So Will, what's your feel on the game? Do you want to make a call on who you're going with?
Sure. This one is very tough. I really just want to see a good game, and I think I'm gonna get a good game. But I actually think the Bucs are going to pull it out. I think it's going to be very close. I think it's going to be like a field goal type game, kind of like the spread is in the Bucs' favor. So I am going to go with a 34-31 score, with South Carolina hero Ryan Suckup kicking a game-winning field goal at or near the end of regulation to give the Bucs a win.
Okay. You said 34-30?
34-31.
34-31. Okay. I like it. I know I've been hearing some more for the Bucs recently, and it's hard to bet against Tom Brady in a Super Bowl because he's only lost. He's been to 9 before this one, and he's only lost 3, and 2 of them were to Eli Manning. So it's hard to bet against. And it's hard to bet against.
That's a crazy stat.
That is a crazy stat. That Eli Manning's 2 Super Bowl wins are against Tom Brady, and one was an undefeated Tom Brady.
Right.
So it's hard to bet against him. However, the offense for the Chiefs, to me, is just so dynamic. And I would slightly argue, I do kind of push back sometimes, at least internally, when everyone like freaks out about Pat Mahomes, because I think he's super good, but I also think he's been really beneficial for the system that he's in and the players around him. I mean, I think if you take like a Deshaun Watson, for example, and put him on the Chiefs instead, I don't know if you can guarantee it would be the same, but I think it's also
still going to be.
It's still going to be really good. And I think people don't give enough credit for what Andy Reid has been doing in Kansas City. I mean, they do, but I feel like it's more Pat Mahomes. And obviously he's really good, so I'm not saying anything like that. It's just they have a really good system in place as well. And when you have mismatches like Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, and if they're both playing well, they're just super hard to guard. And I know that the Bucs have had a little bit of injury too in the secondary. I think it was Winfield maybe. At least is a little questionable. So I think it's going to be super close. But all that to say, I'm going with the Chiefs because it's just hard for me to see the Bucs being able to slow down Pat Mahomes enough to win. And I think it might be 30-24. I think it's going to be less than a possession, but I'm going to go 30-24, where it's a fourth quarter game. But I think Mahomes and the Chiefs pull it out in the end. So we'll see. I think we're in a good matchup, but I'm going to go the opposite side.
Good deal.
Yeah. I love it. Cool. Well, thanks for being on, Will. We just wanted to do a quick little podcast for the Super Bowl. So thanks for being on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
I always enjoy it.
Yeah. So, well, before we go, this is an important question that people need to know. What is going to be your food of choice for said Super Bowl? I've heard, you got wings. I've heard a crazy stat that 1.4 billion wings are going to be eaten at the Super Bowl while people are watching.
That's a lot of chicken.
Yeah.
We are going to do pizza.
I feel good about you. Yeah, I think I was feeling pizza too. I'm a pizza guy. We both are. If I can speak for you as well.
Absolutely.
I'm leaning pizza. I can't ever say no to pizza. So I haven't talked to my wife about it, but she's usually pretty down for pizza. So
executive decision.
Yeah, I'm just making it for the family, just making a decision for the people. So there you go. Both can agree on pizza. So, well, thanks guys for listening. Hope you enjoy the game regardless, and best of luck to both teams. And excited just to watch one more game of football for the end of the year. So, and remember to like and subscribe to the podcast. Give us a review if you like it. or however you feel about it. So just thanks for listening. And for now, we are signing off.